everybody. Welcome to this episode of Think Business. Looking forward to talking with Barrie Frankel. Barrie, it's great to see you, founder, CEO of The Learning Coach. I think community, this is a really great talk we're going to have today. Barrie's company, The Learning Coach, I just want to give you a quick gist on what this is. It aims to meet students' needs and interests through flexible and intentional planning, communication, and implementation. Barrie uses various strategies, and her ultimate goal is for every student, really every learner, to succeed and prepare to move on to the next goal. Barrie, I'm really looking forward to talking with you because you work with people who are 5 to 25. I'm going to be 50 on May 15th. And one of the things that I have always, I shouldn't say always, but what I started to realize in my mid-20s is to figure out how I learn. And I didn't know until I was 30 years old that I was dyslexic. And sometimes I don't know where my parents were kind of, getting me tested. I never really felt like I had the tools to learn scholastically. And I always had to kind of figure that out for myself. Through high school, through college, I knew I didn't learn like how they were teaching. And then when I was about 30 years old, I called my therapist and I said, I need a test because I need to figure out what's going on with my brain and how I learn. And I found out I was dyslexic, which made so much sense. And so when I saw this business, I've known you for a long time. You worked at Camp with Joanna for a long time, but I didn't know you had this business, but I loved it because if I can help kind of spread the word to give all of those, I wish I had you when I was 5 years old. It would have given me so many great tools along the way. So, but I want to kind of zoom in on your business and talk about The Learning Coach. When you talk about intentional planning, because there's a lot, I think, that can be unpacked with that word. So can you kind of talk about the intention of the parent, the intention of the student, and then your intention for the collective?
Well, our intention is all really the same, right?
Yeah.
We all want to see the student succeed. And if it's a young child, I want to help that child succeed in their school day. So I want to support what they're already doing, maybe with other tools. So first of all, congratulations to you because getting this far with dyslexia. I'm just going to turn my camera for a quick second.
Yeah.
I teach children with dyslexia and I use a ton of different tools.
Yeah.
I had a side here, which I can talk about. But after a school day with not really using all the strategies that might help that child, and it's difficult, not to say most parents and most teachers, kindergarten, first, second grade, a lot of the struggles that a child with dyslexia might be having might be developmental. Right? So the intention is for that child to have success, and the things you're doing in that classroom at that time does give them some success. Very often it isn't until middle school, high school, time tests, lots of content reading, social studies, science, because it all incorporates reading and writing, unless it's also, involves math, which is another part of dyslexia that I am not as confident in, although I do work with young kids in math. So what I will say is that you are certainly not alone with it going unnoticed all through school, and the amount of performers, artists, athletes who have dyslexia, because usually a different gift is there that helps you soar. You probably have, which is a tribute to doing a podcast, exceptional listening skills.
Yeah.
And so there's other skills. It's just the K-12 or the college years aren't really framed to benefit you as much as they could.
Yeah.
So,
well, it was interesting, Barrie. I will get into you, but when I was 18 years old, I think my parents knew I learned differently, but when I was 18 years old, my dad gave me a set of tape sets by Brian Tracy called The Psychology of Success. And he said to me, I think you'll learn more from these types of people than you will college. and I became obsessed, and I knew I wanted to coach businesses and write books and speak from that age. And what
Wow.
I didn't know was I was an auditory learner. I didn't know that till I was 30. But from 18 on, all I was doing was I was reading a lot, but I was listening to more because my retention was there. And I've had to really hone in on my listening skills.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's great. All right. Anyway, enough about me.
Well, if
Let's
you
talk.
think about it, by fifth grade, kids aren't read to aloud very often. So even some of my middle schoolers, when we're reading together, they love listening to me read, and then they model after some of mine. We go
Yeah.
back and we discuss it. So now with all the auditory options, and
Right.
even spell correct and spell check on the computer and all of that, it's even easier
Yeah.
for it to go unnoticed longer.
Yeah. So
Um,
let's talk about this as far as, unnoticed and the work that you do. You're working with 5-year-olds,
okay.
right? And so what are some of the things that parents need to pay attention to where they say, you know what, we got to call Barry. We have to we just have to get an evaluation or something. Let's start from 5.
Well, because a 5-year-old is thriving in different ways, right? Some develop gross motor first, some develop fine motor. It is hard to know that it's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes you just start, and I do a lot through games. And I wouldn't say I evaluate many by age 5. Um, if they've been in a very academic preschool, kindergarten setting and they're not picking up on sounds, it could be memory. It could be many things. Okay. Um, I would say that I would do a lot of repetition at home. If you have a child where you say, please bring me your socks and your shoes and your backpack from the other room, and they're not able to follow that pattern of direction, that's something that might, to a parent, say
Yeah.
they're really not able to follow direction. But could that be something else at that age? Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't like to jump to the conclusion that it's a big problem. However, when it comes to dyslexia, it is hereditary. So if parents know that they struggled with it, and there's an enormous continuum. So, I mean, if parents know that they struggled with it in any way and they feel that it could be a problem, that's an important thing for a teacher
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah, I love it. So let's talk about, you say, well, I don't know if that's necessarily a problem, but let's talk problem versus just best practice. I think a lot of the tools, somebody who, as we get, you were from 5 to 25. So as we move into middle school, maybe let's just jump ahead to maybe high school and
Mhm.
post high school, maybe college, post college, then I would think that your services are just a good best practice, right? So can you just talk a little bit about that?
Well, I would say that my best practice or best strategy is developing the relationship with my student.
Hmm.
Because very often, so I start off right away. If their parent is comfortable with it, I want to be called Barry. It makes me their learning partner rather than their teacher who they're with all day, right? Which I'm a teacher, so I'm not putting down the teacher, but it just shifts the mindset.
Sure.
They might be having a snack while they're working with me. During the COVID years, working digital worked beautifully, and most still opt for it because, you know, a high school senior can lie in their bed at 11 a.m. on a Sunday and work with me, with their hair up and sweats on, and feel like it's different than sitting at a desk. So
Yeah.
it's worked really well. After college, my degree in English and psychology, I went on for my MSW, realized I really wanted to teach. I got my master's in curriculum. I taught grades 2 through 5, went on, taught college at Eastern and at Wayne State. And I really was missing, once I became an administrator there, I was assistant director of student teaching. I really missed working with kids. And I felt like, but I don't know what age I'd want to work with. At that time, I was working with many high schoolers. on executive functioning, getting them ready for college, whether they were adjusting to the high school schedule, had ADHD, autism. And then it evolved into my love for writing, and I was helping them with a lot of writing, taking notes, essays for applications. But I always went with it from, I guess, the price point and the intentional planning of a tutor.
Yeah.
So I always say that even my high school seniors, when we're working on college essays, they are being tutored and end with a final product or products that they're really proud of,
Yeah.
and develop a love for writing, hopefully through it, which many of them tell me that they really enjoyed the process. So
Yeah.
that's really the best gift to me, is when they tell
Yeah.
me they enjoyed the process, or when a parent says to me, "Oh, good luck with her today. She had a horrible day in
Yeah.
school." And they can't wait to log on with me on a Zoom and never want to get off. So, like, to
Yeah.
me, that's the best feedback that something's working. And then I'm in touch with teachers at times, and they're giving me things that would really help the child in the classroom. So I'm open to a lot of different strategies, and my intentional planning is very individual, all the way to the point where I like to encourage an independence in my students, and I do everything based on packages. So if I have a student where they're just not able to focus that day, we're not going to meet for an hour. We're going to meet for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it just accumulates in the packages, or I don't use the full hour. And the same with my older kids. If they need to check in for 15 minutes about something with editing an essay, then we do that. And another time they might need an hour and 15 minutes when we're brainstorming and really talking through something.
Yeah.
So that allows parents to give their student the independence to make that decision with me, which works great with that intentional planning.
Yeah, I love everything that you're talking about, because if I had to put an umbrella about it, you're really this power mentor that can be the tutor, the executive functioning, coach, the consultant. I mean, there's so many different things. Let's just talk about the mind, body, spirit connection of everything that you're doing right now, because when you're talking about, you want them to call you Barry, which I love that, and you're not their teacher, you're just you hold a different energy than someone who's in a classroom. And so let's just talk about, because what I'm hearing you say is you create this kind of evolved, different frequency, different vibration than school does when it comes to the mind, body, spirit connection of really learning, adapting to them, right? The thing, it's, school is very rigid, your class is X amount of time, this is the curriculum, et cetera. You're kind of adapting to the DNA of who they are on a consistent basis. So just kind of, can you talk a little bit more about kind of that mind, body, spirit connection that kind of flows into the academic success?
Sure. I hope that I understand exactly what you're asking about that. And if I'm not, just interrupt me
Yeah.
and tell me to go in a different direction. What I try to do is, so for example, today I'm working with a second grader after school, and as I'm shocked that on a Friday after school, she wanted to work with me. She had a lot of softball this week, had a lot of stuff going on, and said, "Could we still work together on Friday?" And I said, "Sure. What would you like to use?" So my young kids get a bag filled with goodies, okay? And those things range from a beach ball to sand to sprinkles to dice to games to cups, to bingo boards, all a variety of things. She told me today she wants to work with sand. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to me what tool I'm using. I know what I'm working with her on today with the sand, right? We're going to be working with a blending board and is this backwards for you? I can't, the OY sound.
Yeah.
So whether we're building the word toy, joy, boy, we're going to be working on that today.
Right.
So, but with the sand, she's getting the tactile. Um, and she loves to work virtually. And her mom was very doubtful about it, but she loves it. And, she takes charge of her materials. Um, and it's an independence that I think her mom is even surprised
Yeah.
about, and a motivation. So am I touching on the right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, absolutely. Because to me, it's, the, you, they're able to choose kind of their path, and they're able to kind of flow into it. And then you can adapt to them and teach them no matter what tool they're using.
Now, having been a classroom teacher with 30 kids at a time, I completely understand what my flexibility is with an individual or a small group. And I build upon that, right? Because some kids need that little bit of extra choice.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to do that. On the flip side, this weekend I'm working with a few soon to be high school seniors who are getting ready this summer to start applying to college. And I'm offering a special right now for May through July 1st for a brainstorm. And when I'm talking about the mind, body, spirit, many of my students during that brainstorm say, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I just left a therapist." We sort of do a journey through their life, and
Sure.
I weave threads that maybe are unique, or I really listen to things that they're excited to talk about, because then maybe that would be what they'd be really excited to write about.
Yeah.
And we go from there without even looking at essay prompts. It's just a very um, different way than they're used to
Yeah.
coming together with a writing piece.
Yeah, creating a space for them to really tap into, a deeper level. I love it.
And
Barry,
if some of my students don't like to actually write, they might tell me their story, and before they know it, I type their first paragraph. So when I'm talking about I don't do any of the work for them. But like I said, they call me Barrie, and I'm their partner, and
yeah,
that's might be something that a partner does when you're working as a team.
yeah, I love it. I love it, Barry. All right, so wait, I want to talk about executive functioning work that you do, study skills and organizational habits. We are, you know, I think more or less coming out of still this COVID, working from home, kids were on Zoom. They didn't have to show their pictures. They were, in school, in bed. I mean, it was a crazy time that everybody had to adapt to.
Right.
But I think coming out of that, and you would know better than me, the study skills, the organizational habits, the anxiety, the executive functioning, to me is something that I think really needs to be front and center for a lot of these young adults today. And so,
Well,
what are you seeing, and how are you helping them?
well, I I'll start with during the pandemic, with the students I was working with, all different ages. So I published a book about and it was illustrated by about 20 different kids from ages 5 to 15. Okay.
Very cool.
Um, and what that book, the theme was there were many lessons learned during COVID, although the traditional ones might
Yeah,
have fallen by the wayside, right? So the traditional ones that have fallen by the wayside might be attending, sitting at a desk, not being in the comforts of your home, not being with your parent all the time for a young child, right? All the various things. Kids did adjust in many really neat ways and learn some really neat lessons. Getting back to school and what you were saying, the structure of things is where a lot of parents have felt, especially the high school parent, have felt, oh my God, they started high school. Now they're in 11th grade. They
right.
were virtual. Now they're in 11th grade. They haven't been able to do this. They haven't done that. So many of my high school students, it is like a twice a week check-in, very often a 15-minute check-in.
Yeah,
And I mean, I rarely see that someone needs more than that. We might develop a long-term calendar for the month. We adjust it every week on Google Docs. Usually my high school and college students like working on Google Docs. And basically we're adjusting it, we're planning ahead, because that's what's really been lost, right? Planning ahead, because they were able to sit on their computer during class, and if they had math next, they were able to do their math homework because no one would know.
No one would know. Yeah.
So the planning ahead, that intentional planning on the student's part. So you need to catch up this weekend. When are you doing that?
Yeah.
And we literally set a timeline for that. And usually when I check in with them on the time we have planned Sunday night or Monday to get their week straight, they didn't even need me.
Yeah.
So, sometimes I feel it's overkill, but they're liking just that check-in
Yeah.
and that accountability. And last night, one of my students, she had so much homework, and none of it was like physics and geometry and things that like are not my strong suit. I helped her organize her night a little bit. And I said, let's get off and meet again on Sunday. I don't want to waste your time. You seem a little stressed. So that was that. And then Sunday, we're getting together to plan ahead the next month going into finals.
I love what you're doing. I'm a business coach, and the way I work with clients typically, I mean, I do keynotes and group trainings and things of that nature, but my typical client we'll do a 1 to 3 hour deep dive, and then we do 15 minutes a week or 30 minutes every other week. And the reason is because the shelf life, begins to dissipate after a week or 2 weeks, depending on the person. And so I love your check-ins, because I think the check-ins are critical. And like you, I always tell my clients, I'm accessible anytime you need me. I return every call, text, email, same day. Yeah. And so it is, I think a lot of coaches kind of miss that piece of it, which is the shelf life of people, the accessibility that our clients need from us. I love what you're doing. Wait, I want to kind of, for those who are listening, I want to kind of just break down a quick kind of, gist of, if someone's child is 5 to 10, what's one reason they should call you?
Okay. Very often after parent teacher conferences in the fall, your child's not at grade level. You might want to call. We can talk about it. We could see what I could do to support that. Right now, if your child's finishing the school year, someone might be calling me to put together some enrichment, maybe a book club for the summer. Last summer, after school for some kids, it's just too much after a whole day of school. Yeah. So if somebody's a little bit behind in reading level or something, they might want to work with me 3 times a week in the summer. And last summer, I did that with someone and got her up a grade and a half in her reading scores. Right. And I've been checking in with the mom, and it's remained at grade level for the year. And she may want to continue on this summer, but it's sort of nipped it in the bud. Yeah. So summer is a great time for that. And my flexibility, since I'm the only one, I don't have other people working for me and with me. If you contact me, it's going to be with me. Yeah. So obviously my after school hours, my evening hours, my weekend hours are limited. So summer, I'm really flexible, as are kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so now that's 5 to 10. What about 10 through 15, 10 through maybe 13?
Okay, so 10 through 13 is a ton of writing, math. So my certification, my legal, like state of Michigan certification, goes up through 8th grade. But I would not hire me to teach 8th grade math, okay? I will often support and help someone find if they needed a tutor for that. But all reading, writing, outlining, all the way through middle school is something I do. Math through 6th grade, yes. But I will know my limitations and voice that to a parent immediately. Yeah. I could, but I wouldn't be the best person for it. Usually people are coming to me for the reading, writing component because the content is getting so much more difficult. And that's when you're starting to see a struggle.
Yeah. Okay. So now that takes us through middle school. Now high school.
High school is very much executive functioning. I have a slew of ninth graders who obviously during the pandemic were finishing middle school, transitioning to high school. Will they be ready for it? Just knowing that parents are so on board with that, those students are typically more ready than the parent thinks.
Yeah.
And working with me, I'm seeing a lot of readiness. I'm very open to questions. I am flexible with them. I text with them. They set up their times with me that work, foster a lot of independence and accountability on their part. I give the parents feedback and all of that as much as they want, but it really alleviates the stress of that teen parent relationship of the heavy monitoring.
Yeah.
So that goes really well with my high school students, whether it's setting up a calendar, helping them construct an email to their high school counselor to foster that relationship,
Yeah.
and teaching them all of that.
All right, good. Now let's take it to college.
Okay. So one of my students I've been working with since high school, his goal was to get away to college, and he has autism. He is in college, and we started daily, and then weekly, a few times a week, and then weekly, and then monthly. And now that he's in college, we set up his semester when he gets his syllabi, and he contacts me as needed, whether it's to brainstorm an essay, to outline something, to organize a week. It is not very often, but he knows I'm there, and he knows he's going to hear back from me. If I get a text from a student, they hear back from me. Unless I'm teaching, they hear back from me really quickly.
I love it. And what about college?
So college, applying to college is a big part of what I do at this time of year. So right now I'm running a special for a free 1-hour brainstorm from May 1st to July 1st for kids who want to get really started on their applications and their essays and polish them off a lot over the summer, get a lot of those drafts written. And that's when I really get to know my students. We build a rapport. Those kids, I do a very non-threatening process where they just seem very comfortable talking about themselves. Sometimes working with them virtually on that brainstorm opens up things like I noticed these trophies on a shelf behind them that they didn't even mention. I had no idea that they were ranked in a certain sport or competed in a certain competition. And I see that, and that wasn't even something they included.
Yeah.
So I really get to know those students well. And then in college, I often hear from them if they're applying like junior year to a business school or a grad school. I've worked with many applying to medical school, nursing school, PA school, because there's many essays involved in that. And unlike me, science might be their strong suit and not writing. So some of them are students I worked with for college, and some are not. Some are brand new. And then I get to know them in that way. So it really runs the full gamut. And it keeps me on my toes because I'm constantly learning along with them. And I love.
Yeah. Well, your students are lucky to have you, Barrie. I mean, everything that you're doing is so priceless to them. What is one thing? What's the most commonly asked question that parents have when they call you?
You're going to laugh at this. Do I owe you money? So a funny thing is that if a parent knows I'm working with their high schooler and we're set up like 3 times in the next month, they don't realize it might be 15 minutes a time rather than an hour each time.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a really funny thing. I'm like, I promise when we have an hour left to your package, I will let you know so that we can meet the same goals with pricing and everything. But my weak link is definitely the business component. So I might need your help.
Yeah. All right, we can talk about it. I have some ideas for you, Barrie.
That would be great. But a more academic question is, what could I do to help them? Because we do work as a team. And I say that right from the start, that I want them to let me know if there's something I need to know that I wouldn't know since I'm not in their house.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Are there any books that you recommend parents read or kids read to just kind of maybe raise their awareness on any level?
I have a bunch of books that I've really enjoyed. Sometimes, and this is a book, um, if you haven't read this, it explains. Allie is um, has dyslexia. Okay, and um, and it sort of shines a light on everything that this one teacher helps her
Yeah.
helps her through.
Nice. All right.
So,
You put in a tree.
and then yes, fish in a tree, and then where you go is not who you'll be is a great theme in general. But it's one of my first books for parents who are getting ready to support their child in the after high school
Yeah.
process.
So
Because
much pressure.
it
Yeah.
might not even be college might not even be the best thing for
Yeah.
everybody. And then I have a ton of resources, and I do like to support parents with that. Very often it's articles, because as busy parents, a book sometimes is overwhelming. And I know, like me, it'll just sit there. I'll order it on Amazon, it'll wait, and I
Yeah.
won't read it. So sometimes a quick article and I highlight part of it for them is sometimes the best support of all.
Yeah. I love it. Barrie, tell everybody where they can connect with you and learn more about you.
Okay, so my website is thelearningcoach.net, and the best way to reach me is a call or a text at my on my cell. It will be the fastest way. My I have two emails. One is a Gmail that is always working, and the other one, which is on my website. Right now, I'm having some glitches with, and after I meet with you, I'm actually meeting with my tech person,
Oh, good.
because, like everybody, I'm always having a tech issue, um, and I navigate that with my students too. And maybe I'll also have to tap into Evan Krasnick, a favorite tech person of
He's
mine.
good. He's my tech guy. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, but a text, and I will get back immediately. Um, and we will set up a time, because I always want to talk to the parent and really hear what
Yeah.
they want and need.
Tell me, give your tag, give your cell.
Oh, 248-840-9955.
All right.
Obviously an email. It's all on my website. But I will get back to you much faster because of my teaching schedule. I'll always see a text before I see an email.
Yeah. Barrie, this was great. I'm grateful for social media, for learning about your business. You serve 5 to 25-year-olds who, again, just recapping, who are really in need of the tutoring, consulting, but mostly, and as you put on your website, everything is done with TLC. You've got such a kind way about the way that you approach your business and your students. And I think it's great. I wish I had you as a resource. I'm going to be 50 May 15th. I wish I had it 45 years ago.
Happy birthday. Welcome to the club.
Thank you. I wish I had it 45 years ago. And I think what you're doing is just fantastic.
You know
And
what?
it's
If
great.
you had it 45 years ago, you might have taken a whole different path.
I know. No, I don't look back with any regret. And I embrace it. I learned how to learn differently, and I'm very happy with my path.
Yeah, it's probably made you an awesome, patient parent too, because
87% of the time.
most of us are like that. Yes, I've worked with a lot of kids, but my kids will tell you,
Yeah.
That's not what you would say to a student.
Right, exactly. But I think what you're doing is amazing. Think community. It's so important to pay attention to not only ourselves and our businesses as we grow our own businesses, but it's also really important to pay attention to our kids and maybe where they need additional help. And whether it's a problem or just a best practice to help your child get ahead, get more organized, get more structure, I would at minimum maybe call Barrie Frankel from The Learning Coach. learningcoach.net, and give Barrie a call. Barrie, it's been a pleasure. It's funny, you know someone a long time, but then you really don't know certain pieces of their life. So it was great diving into this piece of your life. I've always been a fan of you and your whole family. So it's great to kind of hear more a little bit about your business. Give your cell phone one more time.
248-840-9955.
Awesome. Oh,
for the visuals.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Perfect. Good. All right. Good. I like it. All right. Think community. Thank you, Barrie. I really appreciate your time and your insight and everything that you do. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, John. I appreciate the opportunity.